And it's here that for the 15th and last time this year, Formula One's World Championship competitors meet to contest 59 laps of its 3.4-mile circuit. 199 miles of brake-testing twists and turns with a top speed of over 180 miles an hour. Jody Scheckter may have won the World Championship, but with 4 wins in the last 5 Grand Prix, Alan Jones means to prove by winning today that but for a terrible first half season, he could have been champion. And after practice, it looks as though he could do just that, for he's in pole position 5 seconds faster than the lap record. But sensationally, alongside Alan on the front row, it's Nelson Piquet in the new Ford-powered Brabham, stepping effortlessly into Niki Lauda's position as team leader in his first ever drive at Watkins Glen. Row 2, Gilles Villeneuve, Ferrari, and Jacques Lafitte in the Ligier, who could still finish second in the championship. And then in row 3, Clay Regazzoni's Claudia Williams and Carlos Reutemann's Lotus. And it's rumoured here that this could be Reutemann's last drive in Formula One. Row 4, the 2 Renaults of Jabouille and Arnoux. And after a dry warm-up period this morning, the rain clouds overhead have burst. The circuit is soaking wet. There's a big debate about whether drivers are going out on wet or dry tyres. It's going to be a mixture of both, and everybody is hoping desperately that the rain will stay off and that the circuit will dry out. And now the competitors are coming up to the closing stages of the warm-up lap, and you can see for yourselves what the weather conditions are like. It gives, of course, Alan Jones and Nelson Piquet a considerable advantage because they have a clear circuit in front of them. There is Alan Jones in the white Claudia Williams car, leading out down to the last bend before he comes into the sight of the finish and start and finish straight. Alan Jones, then, hot favourite for this race in the Claudia Williams, who has already won 4 out of the last 5 Grand Prix this year. And with me in the commentary box today, James Hunt, who won this very race at this circuit in 1976 and 1977, and will know far better than I what it is like to drive under these conditions.
Yes, very horrible, Murray. They got the drivers. Some guys have started on dry tyres. They're taking a gamble. The track will dry quickly. They'll struggle for what they can do in the meantime. But most people, I think, have taken the sensible course or the more conservative course of taking wet tyres.
So it is going to be interesting, to say the least of it, over 59 laps of this race to see how the weather conditions develop, because if the circuit dries out, the competitors who are on wet tyres will have the problem of conserving their rubber because they will want to avoid coming into the pits to change tyres. And the American Grand Prix of 1979 is on, and that's Villeneuve streaking through. Piquet left very badly at the start, and Gilles Villeneuve leads into the 90. The first right-hand bend from Alan Jones. A typical brilliant start, and Jacques Lafitte in 3rd position. Jacques Lafitte in 3rd place. There is Gilles Villeneuve, the young French-Canadian, who has driven so brilliantly this season. He had a win in South Africa and a win in Long Beach. And look at the great roosters of water streaming up from enormous rear tyres of those cars. And Alan Jones moving to the left of Villeneuve's car to get out of that great wall of water that he's having to drive into. And now they're into the fast top straight, 5th gear, up to 175, 180 miles an hour in the dry, but not, of course, under these conditions. James.
Well, of course, Murray, I just wanted to point out that these conditions really are at least as bad as they look on our screen. When we saw the cars coming towards us completely hidden by spray, that's about as much as the driver can see out of the car if he's following another car. It's really impossible. They have to do a lot of guessing and take it very carefully for the time being. They're just looking at the side of the track to see where they're going, to see where they are on the track, because they can see nothing ahead apart from the leading car.
Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari, leading Alan Jones in the Claudia Williams in 2nd place. Big crowd here at Watkins Glen. They've come from many parts of America and all from New York. And Villeneuve drifting out, hitting the curving on the left there. And the rain which was preceding the start has actually stopped now. So hopefully, with the sun coming through, and it's starting to do that, the circuit will dry out as we come down to the end of lap 1 out of 59. Villeneuve leading, Alan Jones in 2nd position. Round the left-hander they go, and off goes that looks like Keke Rosberg, but Villeneuve goes through in the lead. Villeneuve now with some 3 seconds lead over Alan Jones. In third position is Reutemann. Fourth is Lafitte. Fifth is Jabouille, and in sixth position Clay Regazzoni. Then René Arnoux is in seventh place. Pironi is eighth. Watson is ninth. And into the pits already as Pironi goes through. No, it was Hans Stuck spinning, and there you can see for yourself the trouble. Spin off as Villeneuve goes through. It was one of the Brabhams, or the Alpha, probably Bruno Giacomelli, that went off there. And now Gilles Villeneuve is on lap 2. Jones hard up behind him. Villeneuve, who won in South Africa and Long Beach, and sure enough, it's Bruno Giacomelli, the young Italian, in only his third Grand Prix in this car, the Alfa-powered Alfa Romeo. Villeneuve comes through to complete his second lap out of 59, and he is undoubtedly increasing his lead over Alan Jones, which is 4.7 seconds. Villeneuve through, Jones nearly 5 seconds behind him. Carlos Reutemann in third position, and things are getting very strung out, but Clay Regazzoni is up into fourth place ahead of Jacques Lafitte. Then a long, long gap as you look at Gilles Villeneuve going through the sector chicane up into the S's, and from the S's onto the highest part of the circuit, which he is on now. And this is where he gets up into fifth gear, and you can see that the 27-year-old Quebecois, Gilles Villeneuve, is that distance ahead of this man, which is Alan Jones. There is Alan Jones in second position, going through and on his way down to the right-hander at the loop, which he's at now. This is, you drop down, there's Giacomelli's car, and that's the first time I've seen a breakdown truck of that size on a circuit, but it's obviously a sensible thing to do, to get the car out of that dangerous position. And Jacques Lafitte has spun. Jacques Lafitte has spun as we talk to you. But Clay Regazzoni is in fourth position, and through now into fifth position goes Jean-Pierre Jabouille with Arnoux behind him, and Jacques Lafitte falling down through the field and losing his chances of finishing second in the World Championship. There is Lafitte's car. That's Lafitte's car that they're closing in on now through the spray, and he's right by Jackie Ickx's car. So both the Ligiers have spun off on this lap. This is the end of lap 5. In the Ferrari, the man who won at Long Beach, the man who won in South Africa, Gilles Villeneuve, second position in the World Championship, and he cannot now be beaten for that second position. So Ferrari have achieved a brilliant double this year, 1979, a brilliant triple, in fact, because Jody Scheckter is the world champion in a Ferrari, Gilles Villeneuve, and there he is in second place in a Ferrari, and Ferrari have won the manufacturers' world championship by a very considerable amount. So, at the end of the 12th lap, it is Gilles Villeneuve in the lead from Alan Jones. In third position, it's Clay Regazzoni, Saudia Williams cars second and third. In fourth place, Jody Scheckter. In fifth position, Jabouille.
Jody Scheckter, the world champion, coming in to change onto slick tyres. Jody Scheckter decided the track is drying, that he wants to get off the wet tyres. He's come in for a pit stop that's already taken 22 seconds, and he's ready to go out now, checking the team, 28, and in 30 seconds, Jody Scheckter, the world champion, has changed on the slick tyres. He believes it's going to stay dry. Now just watch Jody Scheckter fly.
Okay, well, here we go. Obviously, the track is now drying out. It's been visibly drying in some parts on the line. Jody's gambled, made an early change to dries. Regazzoni's already gone in. I think we're going to see a landslide of cars coming into the pits from now on over the next couple of laps, as they all rush for the dry tyres to get out and get them warmed up quick on the drying track.
Alan Jones, second place, lap 25. Far enough behind Gilles Villeneuve for Jones to have to try very hard for a very long time to catch the leader. Villeneuve, and Villeneuve is taking Derek Daly, who is in sixth position. And surely Gilles Villeneuve will have to come in for tyres soon. And look at the run that Derek Daly is giving him. Derek Daly, the Irish driver, ex-Formula 3 champion, has transferred to Formula 2 and Formula 1 and got a drive in the Italian Grand Prix, in the Austrian Grand Prix for Ken Tyrrell in the Candy Tyrrell after having struggled with the rather slow Ensign earlier on in the season. Derek Daly more than justified that drive by finishing in 8th position in the Candy Tyrrell in Austria, and now he is in 6th position in the American Grand Prix, although he has just been lapped by the leader Gilles Villeneuve. Jean-Pierre Jabouille, that's the 3rd position man, and Jean-Pierre Jabouille is out of the race to join the other flood of retirements. There have been a lot of them in this race, and the 3rd place Renault is out. So that means to say that René Arnoux, the young Frenchman who is in 4th position, will now move up into 3rd position. And Jody Scheckter will be 4th, and there is a very unhappy Jean-Pierre Jabouille. And now watch this, because in the lead here, in the white helmet and the yellow Renault, is René Arnoux in 3rd position. Behind him is Gilles Villeneuve leading the race and about to lap the 3rd place man that we're looking at this very moment. Young René Arnoux. So Villeneuve is driving a storm of a race, and as James has said, is conserving his wet weather tyres and quicker than Scheckter on the dries, and now he's taking and does so beautifully. Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari leading the American Grand Prix on lap 30 has just lapped the 3rd place man, and Alan Jones is getting distinctly closer to Villeneuve. You just saw a flash of the white and green Saudi Williams car there as Gilles Villeneuve passed the other car, so Alan Jones was just behind him. And watch for Villeneuve next time on your screen, because the gap is down to 3.4 seconds. There is Villeneuve, and the gap is down to 3.4 seconds. The breakdown truck is on the circuit. The gap that I'm talking about is the gap between this man, Gilles Villeneuve, leading on lap 31, and the 2nd place man, Alan Jones. There's Jones. He's about to catch and lap the 3rd place man, René Arnoux. All of a sudden, the race is coming alive, and there are the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd men together. Villeneuve leading. There is René Arnoux in 3rd position, who has been lapped by Villeneuve, and that is Alan Jones in 2nd place. And he, too, is soon going to... And he's done him! Alan Jones... No, that's Regazzoni. That's Regazzoni and going off. Regazzoni going off. Piquet and Hanstock, who is in 6th position. What did you think of that for a bit of driving, James Hunt?
Well, we didn't have a very clear view of exactly what happened, Murray. It looked to me just like a bit of fairly regular over-exuberance.
And Jones, Alan Jones, has got past René Arnoux, and now he's really setting about the leader, Gilles Villeneuve, on lap 31. Lap 31 out of 59, Regazzoni there in the 2nd Saudi Williams car, out of the race. So, Rega, who was for a long time, you can see, he looks as though he's bogged down. He's gone across those heavy studs. And here it is, Regazzoni passing and taking Piquet. James?
Well, yes, he wasn't so much passing Piquet, he was passing Stuck there behind, and I think he just got a little bit onto the wet patch, got a bit slippery there, and just basically lost control.
And here is the battle for the lead. As you look at René Arnoux, you just saw that Alan Jones has closed right up on Gilles Villeneuve on lap 32. Is it going to be yet another victory for the Australian Alan Jones? And this could be it. Here is Alan Jones with Villeneuve on lap 32. And he's by. Alan Jones has taken the lead as Zanino's car is lifted by the breakdown truck right in the middle of the circuit. An incredible happening. Alan Jones leading for the first time on lap 32 out of 59, and the new 2nd place man, They're both on wet tyres, and now, if the circuit does start to dry out, it could get very, very interesting and very exciting indeed. So Alan Jones has pulled back a 10-second gap between himself and Villeneuve and has taken the lead. There is Derek Daly coming into the pit. Daly, who is in fourth position, into the pit, presumably for a tyre change. Hans Stuck, the German driver in the ATS, as Daly goes out, and Stuck, who is in sixth position, comes into the pit like everybody else for a tyre change. So obviously the track must be drying out, and here again there's a case of a wheel sticking, and they've got it off. On goes the slick at the back. The other one has already been put on. The pneumatic hammer is working at the front, and 4 wheels, 4 tyres changed. Hans Stuck's ATS on the jacks, both front and rear, and he gets the signal, and away he goes to rejoin the race, having lost 6th position, but will probably now start to get it back. That's Sura, and Alan Jones goes past young Mark Sura in his first Formula One race in the Rainbow Ensign, the Formula 2 champion of Europe, and Alan Jones leading. Behind him in second place now, Gilles Villeneuve. In third position, René Arnoux in the Renault. In fourth position, Jody Scheckter. In fifth position, Derek Daly. And in sixth place, Didier Pironi, followed in seventh position by Hans Stuck, who has been in to change cars. That's the leader. Villeneuve into the pits. Second place man, Gilles Villeneuve. Now, as his wet tires come off and his dry tires go on, what is Alan Jones going to do? Will he come in to change his tires? How long will it take in comparison with the imperturbable young French-Canadian that we're looking at this very moment? And that is a very quick pit stop. Although, yes, out surges 20 seconds. A whisker over 20 seconds. And Gilles Villeneuve blasts out of the pit, having changed 4 wheels and 4 tires. And I would suspect is in third position, maybe, and he could even still be in second position. Mark Sura, his first Grand Prix, the reigning Formula 2 champion of Europe in the Ensign, and his Grand Prix is run because, as you can well see, he's out of the car. And that is Alan Jones. Alan Jones down in the pits. He's come in for tyres. Now, is he going to get out before Gilles Villeneuve comes past? Watch the corner in the background, and that is Villeneuve. That is Gilles Villeneuve taking the lead in the American Grand Prix, and still in the pits is Alan Jones, and he's away.
Yeah, well, the Ferrari pit stop was fantastic. They did theirs in 20 seconds. We didn't have a time on Alan Jones's, but it had to have been slower. It certainly couldn't have been any quicker than that. And he's out in the race, and he's well behind. We'll get a watch on him as soon as we got both cars running up to full speed on the circuit. But I would expect that he's at least 10 seconds, probably 15 or 20 behind Villeneuve. So he's got an awful lot to do now.
And there are 22 laps to go as we look at the new second place man, because Alan Jones is on his 37th lap out of 59, and we will give you, as James said, the gap between himself and the renewed leader, the man that led the race for so long, right up to the 31st lap, Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari.
I've just talked to one of the Goodyear mechanics who's told me that Alan Jones went out too soon before one of the rear wheels was properly fitted. One of the mechanics told him not to go. He went, and Alan Jones may yet have to come into the pits again.
Alan Jones, a sensation in the American Grand Prix. Alan Jones out of the race. And that's a wheel down there. Alan Jones must have lost a wheel. It must be his offside front wheel that he's lost. Alan Jones has lost the American Grand Prix, if that is true, because of his own fault in leaving the pits too soon. Just a little impetuosity, which I would have said, James, was very unlike Alan Jones.
Absolutely, Murray. That is most uncharacteristic for Alan. I would think it would be a misunderstanding in the pit. It's very difficult to communicate when you're in that situation. It was a rear wheel that Alan lost, so it wasn't done up properly. maybe bad signalling, bad communication in the pit, but whatever, it's a bad mistake.
Lap 39. That is the leader, and the new second-place man is Jody Scheckter. So it is Ferrari first and Ferrari second. There, the leader, Gilles Villeneuve, leading the world champion, Jody Scheckter. Ferrari's first and second. In third position, the indomitable little René Arnoux in the Renault. In fourth position, Derek Daly. In fifth position, Didier Pironi. And in sixth place, after his pit stop, Hans Stuck. John Watson, number 7, still in 7th place. And the leaders are on lap 49 out of 59. And there is Jody Scheckter. And look at the back of Schecter's car. Schecter's in real trouble. He's lost a wheel. His tyres burst. Exactly the same thing has happened to Jody Scheckter, has happened to Villeneuve. And there is sensation with Jody Schecter's rear tyre catching up with his front tyre and rolling away from him. You see the giant aluminium cotton reel wheel of Jody Schecter's Ferrari out of the race. He's going to retrieve the tyre, and it wasn't the Ferrari that let him down, it was his tyre that let him down, and there it is again. The rear tyre flailing away, and it must mean, I presume, James, that it just got overheated and burst.
Well, it's hard to say. It could have been any. It looks to me like like it was some sort of a fault with the tyre, I would say, Murray.
Villeneuve, then, in the closing stages of the American Grand Prix, here at Watkins Glen, which has seen a real contrast in weather conditions. There he goes, and behind him, Derek Daly, who is in 4th position, coming up to the 90, back into 3rd gear, then up into 4th, into turn 2, the right-hander, then Schecter's chicane, which he's going to flip through in a minute, a right and a left. There he goes, a quick right and left, then up into the S's, still now to the highest part of the circuit, and he's got Derek Daly right behind him, and it looks as though he's going to let Daly through, in which case Daly will be unlapping himself as we look briefly at the second-place man, René Arnoux. Daly 4th, Villeneuve leading, René Arnoux there in 2nd position, and in 3rd place, Didier Pironi in the Candy Tyrrell. And out of the turn comes Derek Daly. You can see the gap now between himself and Gilles Villeneuve, who completes his 53rd lap out of 59, with Derek Daly, the Irishman in the Candy Tyrrell, pulling well away from him all the time. Daly, who has been a BP Formula 3 champion in his time, easing away now from this man, the leader, who goes through the chicane, into the S's again, into the top straight. It's Villeneuve, lap 54. Villeneuve, who lives in Monaco, comes from Quebec. That looks like Daly. That's Derek Daly. The Candy Tyrrell is out of the race. Derek Daly, that I was talking about so competently a moment ago, the Irish driver, who was in a superb 4th place, has joined the many other competitors that are out of the event, standing by the circuit. I don't know what the trouble is any more than you do. I do know, however, that Derek Daly has joined Jody Scheckter, Alan Jones, Clay Regazzoni, Charrier, Jabouille, Tombay, Reutemann, Ickx, Lafitte and Giacomelli. So, with Derek Daly out of the race on lap 55, out of 59, looking at the second-place man, René Arnoux, the positions are leading Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari. Then number 16 there, René Arnoux in 2nd place. In 3rd position, Pironi. Up into 4th place, Elio De Angelis. In 5th position, Hans Stuck. And in 6th position, John Watson. That's Piquet. Nelson Piquet has stopped. So the Brazilian in his first race at Watkins Glen is not lasting the distance. That was De Angelis. There is Villeneuve. And yet another competitor, Nelson Piquet, out of the American Grand Prix. Hans Stuck in 5th position in the ATS, where he is number 9. There, number 12, the 27-year-old Gilles Villeneuve. And as they start the last lap, it's interesting to recall the fact that Jean-Pierre Jarier said he thought the conditions earlier were too dangerous to race. Would you agree, James?
No, I wouldn't agree with that, Murray, from what we could see up here. But I'm suspicious that Jarier, he had a bit of an incident out on the track, and we had a bit of a garbled report, and I'm not sure whether he was referring to the general track conditions or to that incident. Altogether, it's been a bit of a disappointing race, unfortunately. It was a two-horse race, and then sadly we lost Jones just as the thing was really going to light up. We had the wet-dry situation. It was largely tactical without a great deal of excitement because the tactics depended very much on the timing of the pit stop. Jones pitted just behind, a couple of laps after Villeneuve did, lost the lead, made a considerably slower pit stop than Villeneuve did, and came out of the pits with approximately 20 laps to go, and a gap that we couldn't measure, but we reckoned was probably about between 10 and 20 seconds, which he definitely could have caught. On that basis, he could easily have made up the ground, and we could have had a really exciting finish. Sadly, though, we've got Villeneuve now leading the race, nursing his car to a very easy win from half distance onwards.
And Gilles Villeneuve has just exited turn 7 into turn 8, and then the climb up to turn 9, the short straight down to turn 10, where he's doing some 115 miles an hour, then into turn 4, and as he comes out of turn 11, he will see the checkered flag ahead of him, and he will know that he has won his third Grand Prix of 1979, the American Grand Prix, to make it 6 for Ferrari, 3 for Jody Scheckter, and 3-2 for Gilles Villeneuve, who takes the checkered flag and wins the US Grand Prix East of 1979 and clinches for himself second place in the World Championship. A wonderful drive, a wonderful Ferrari drive too. René Arnoux there finishing in second place. Third will be Didier Pironi. Fourth will be Elio De Angelis. Fifth, Hans Stuck. And sixth and last man in the points, John Watson. But those positions after Villeneuve are, of course, unofficial, as Villeneuve goes round the wind-down, slow-down lap to get the cheers of the very considerable crowd here at Watkins Glen. So, victory for Villeneuve and the end of a 10-month, 15-race championship series, which has traversed the world from Argentina to South Africa, ranged its way across Europe and ended here in America. A championship which has seen Jody Scheckter achieve his long-held ambition to become world champion, thanks to his 3 wins and the reliability of his Ferrari, which, as I've said, also won the Manufacturers' Championship. But with his superb run of 4 wins in the latter half of the championship, Alan Jones can justly share the title of Man of the Year with Scheckter as the Grand Prix teams leave Watkins Glen to prepare for 1980.